Nation, John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Live Show. We are looking at the 12-game main slate over on DraftKings. Your guy, James Grande, was on today's MLB DFS Playbook, so you can check that out live over on fantasyalarm.com right now. Grande, pretty interesting slate overall. Some elite matchups that we're looking to take advantage of as well. When we did the preview show this morning, we were worried about some weather. So I want to start there with you. You've done the playbook, you've done the research, you've looked it over. How much of an impact is weather going to have on today's main slate?
I don't think it should have really any. There's a couple of games that have rain in the forecast. Both those games should be either the rain's cleared by first pitch or there's a delayed start and play and no issues following. The only in-game weather we should note is that, again, Boston has winds blowing out to left, which they did last night as well. So that's really the only thing that we have to concern of. There's rain in Baltimore, there's rain in New York for the Mets game, but neither of those situations are bad enough to where I'm concerned at all.
Yeah, 100%. We appreciate you all tuning in here today as well. This is the last weekend before the All-Star break, so we're about to have, 4 days of no baseball. I think they return to play on Friday. Now, there'll obviously be the Home Run Derby. They'll have the All-Star game, the Futures game. So there'll be baseball for the baseball fans. There'll even be some DFS slates for the, those who like to, spend some money and gamble a little bit, and play some DFS fantasy. So there'll be those opportunities, and we'll have some content out for everybody over at Fantasy Alarm for those who want to partake in that as well. But in terms of full slate DFS, these are the final 3 slates heading into the All-Star break, and we got a big one ahead of us, like we mentioned. Our guy Dre in chat saying, "What a night ahead!" So if you guys have any comments, any questions, anything you need help with today, get in the chat. Also, Justin in there saying, "Let's get it." If you want to hit a like, hit a share, hit a subscribe, it's a free way to support the work we do here over at Fantasy Alarm, and I had that QR code flashed up there. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, if you want access to all of our premium content, including our Discord, our fantasy football draft guide is now live. It's all part of the All-Pro package, and you can get that first month for less than $20 with promo code Let's Go when you go to fantasyalarm.com/win. So scan that QR code there. Come join the family today. Get access to all of our premium content over there. Enough of the promos. Let's get into the action because we have 12 games to talk about here today on the main slate. Starting pitching, Garrett Crochet is your top priced starter tonight, going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates at $10,300. You have Sonny Gray at 10-2 going up against the Chicago Cubs. Joe Ryan on the road against the Giants. Freddie Peralta at home against the Nationals. And Garrett Cole on the road against the Orioles. Round out your 9K tier. You did the playbook today. You did the work. Where are we looking at pitching today?
Atop the list, I like Garrett Crochet at 10-3. Pittsburgh ranks in the bottom 5 and bottom 5 is actually putting it nicely. They are 29th in OPS, WOBA, and WRC plus over the last month against lefties. So they are second to worst in baseball over that span. They're also bottom 10 against lefties in all 3 of those categories for the year. So I like Crochet coming off his worst start in a while. Just going to put that behind us. Not really in on Sonny Gray. If you want to get there, he's always in play in tournaments. There's always a ceiling. But Cubs bats have woken up in the month of July. So not much interest in 10-2 Sonny Gray. You can get to Joe Ryan. San Francisco's a tough offense. I think what kind of bothers me about the Ryan play is he's given up a lot of home runs this year. San Francisco has one of the best isolated power numbers in baseball, and I know it's a good ballpark upgrade for Joe Ryan. There's obvious upside with strikeouts, but he does get beat by the home run. 16 home runs and 18 starts so far, so a little bit concerned with Ryan. Tournaments only. I'm really on the fence with Freddie Peralta. You can get there in tournaments if you want. Just Washington is just, again,
another year.
Yeah, it's another year. No matter who is implemented into that lineup, it's just a low strikeout rate, hard to put away. They're middle of the pack against right-handed pitching. I like their lineup tonight. They're very lefty heavy up top, with James Wood now hitting second, Lane Thomas third, and Winker fourth behind Abrams obviously leading off. So it's a good top of the lineup. And it's hard to get to Garrett Cole at 9,200 right now. Like, there's obviously strikeout upside outside of the Mets start. He has largely struck people out at like a similar clip. But nothing peripherally suggests that Garrett Cole's been unlucky. He's just been bad to start the year.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, he had a lot of things working against him. He had an elbow injury that he probably could have elected to go the surgery route for. He did not. And he came back and just kind of rehabbed, didn't really pitch a lot in the minors. And now he's not pitching well. Did he pitch fine against Baltimore in his debut? He did. But like, and is Baltimore even at the peak of their game? No.
Right.
If they were, they'd be 7 games ahead of the Yankees right now in the standings, but they're not, right? Despite the Yankees being the worst team in baseball over the last 20 games. Not a lot of interest in Garrett Cole. So it's really Crochet and a bunch of tournament plays. And I just mostly want to talk about the guys in the 8K tier.
Sure. Yeah, more on Garrett Cole here. Again, 4-game sample size, so plenty of time for these things to sort of work itself out. But at least for now, against left-handed hitters, 310 batting average, a 550 slug, 400 WOBA, 1.9 homers per 9. Now, again, small sample size, only allowed 5 homers in the 4 games that he's pitched in. Righties is 3.5 homers per 9. Better, peripherally against right-handed hitters, or rather statistically against right-handed hitters, but still a 600 slugging allowed to them. So definitely a little bit off, and more so we've seen as he works his way through the lineup a couple of times, they start to get to him there. But as you mentioned, it's that next tier, it's that 8K tier. Cole Reagans was in every pick'em article I wrote today. The Red Sox against left-handed pitching, even more recently in a small sample size, have been atrocious. JP Sears shut them down the other day. Trevor Rogers, as poor as he's been, had 6 Ks in 3 innings. We saw Andrew Abbott with 10 strikeouts. We've seen Max Fried with double-digit strikeouts. Garrett Crochet, big strikeout guy, had 10 strikeouts. So now you have what is considered an upper echelon tier lefty pitcher going into Boston tonight. Got to have some concerns, I think, for the Red Sox lineup and be liking Cole Reagans tonight.
I think a lot can be said for Reagans when Garrett Crochet faces Pittsburgh, who's like 29th in every offensive category against lefties. And Reagan still has slightly better odds in terms of strikeouts on sportsbooks. Like, they both have 7.5, but more likely to hit and over is Cole Reagans because of how much Boston strikes out. Boston did obviously shake up their lineup a little bit. Jarren Duran, I'm assuming this is the first time in I don't know how long that Jarren Duran has not led off, but they're leading Ref Snyder off tonight with Jarren Duran hitting second. I don't know if that means anything.
No, that's definitely a change in strategy for them for sure. But we've seen them put out some ugly looking lineups against left-handed pitching. So needing to sort of reshuffle the deck there and maybe put some of their better hitters in better position to be productive. But like you said, Rob Snyder's leading off, Durant second, O'Neill third, Devers, Wong, Romy, and Westbrook are in the lineup again because they need the righty bats. Raphael, and they're hitting Hamilton ninth. So, that's just, it doesn't look like a representative major league lineup, obviously. Now, I know if you just break down the splits, these guys do have like good numbers against left-handed pitching individually, but as a team, they're just downright bad.
Yeah, I'm all in on Reagans at 85, and like he could be playing the Monstars tonight, and ultimately at the end of the day, like we talked about it when he was in course, he's too cheap, and it's not like going from 82 to 85 is is a big change. There's not a lot to dislike about Cole Reagans tonight. 8,500, all the upside.
The other guy in this tier that we highlighted this morning, and I want to know if you're still in or not, is Sean Manaea. He's drawing the matchup at home against the Colorado Rockies here, coming off 6 shutout innings against Pittsburgh. A strong start against the Nationals, who we just talked about, have been rather pesky at times. He shut out the Yankees over 5 innings. It feels like every other year we go back and forth on whether or not Sean Manaea is a guy you target with your stacks or you fade. He was even at times demoted to the bullpen last year, but right now running good. Strikeouts have been pretty decent as well. Thoughts on Manaea at 86?
Yeah, when I started the playbook this morning, the Mets were minus 245 favorites. I am looking at sports books that have it upwards of minus 290.
Okay.
Minus 275 is really where it's sat in. Like, just to give you perspective on one, are the thoughts on the Mets, right? It opened at minus 222. It is now some places 290, 275. The thoughts on Mets. I think the thought on how well Sean Manaea has pitched is going into that as well. He has been super consistent. I mean, 8 of his last 9 starts, he's given us at least 15 fantasy points. And then you're coupling that with a Rockies offense. When factoring in cores, you don't even have to remove cores from the equation for the Rockies to be bottom 10 in OPS, WOBA,
Right.
WRC plus against left-handed pitching. That is with cores baked in, and they still stink that much. You pair that with the 30% strikeout rate they've had against lefties. Only Boston has like 0.2 percentage points higher than them, and we just spent 5 minutes on how much Boston struck out against lefties.
Right.
Well, here we are, number 2 by 0.2 percentage points over last month is the Colorado Rockies, and we saw like how much the Rockies struggled in the strikeout department last series, and now we're talking about them going to a big ballpark in Citi Field. Like this, it's a big park downgrade. Sean Manaea and the Mets, the biggest favorites on the board. He's actually, honestly, like if I can only pick one pitcher today, like if I was on a one pitcher site, and it's easier on FanDuel because Reagan's is like 10-2. Sean Manaea would be my number 1 per dollar play at pitcher today.
And that matchup maybe just got a little bit easier for him. Nolan Jones just scratched for the Rockies here tonight. Now, that would have been a lefty spot, so maybe it gets harder if they throw in a righty there.
Lefties have been better. Lefties have hit Manaea better this year than righties.
But I'm just saying in general, what is considered to be one of the better hitters of that lineup, though he hasn't really had that this year, scratch. So we'll see what happens of this Rockies lineup moving forward with Nolan Jones no longer part of it. Any other guys in this 8K, or as you work your way down the list? I know it's for 12 games, but some of the talent certainly does take a steep fall off.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in much. Carson Spires is someone I think Justin asked us about Spires. I have written up. I'm a little indifferent about Carson Spires because I think that he's been fine. And I think that this is obviously one of those spots where you plug and play typically. Like, how many times have we done it lately where it's like, oh, you need a pitcher who's struggling, Nick Pivetta, a pitcher who's struggling, Framber Valdez, a pitcher who's struggling, insert name here that gets on track with
Brian
the Marlins. Brian Bayo.
Yeah.
But the one thing that Carson Spires has struggled with this year is lefties. And at the top of the Marlins lineup, they have Jazz Chisholm, who's homered in 2 of his last 3 games. They moved, I mentioned Xavier Edwards to you on the show last night. He's hitting second tonight, 2,300. He's hitting righties really well, and he did so at the minor league level. He hit 380 against them last year. He's hit 330 against them this year. Jesus Sanchez has a 300 plus ISO and an 1,000 OPS over his last 30 days against right-handed pitching. And Josh Bell's hitting 4th. 4 of their top 5 batters are lefties. And that's my one concern with Spires, because it's lefty power, fly ball, an elevated fly ball rate in Great American is a recipe for disaster. But, John, those lefties still play for the worst offense against right-handed pitching in the league, right? So I think that it's like I'm playing Spires, and if not, I don't hate the idea of sprinkling some cheap Marlins in, because now I'm not going crazy with Marlins, but some of these numbers are really good.
Selective, 100%. 100%.
So I like Spires. I also kind of like the Marlins. I even went ahead, if you go look at my playbook over on fantasyalarm.com today, I actually added a Marlins stack to the stack section, and I have Carson Spires written up just to show you I'm like very on the fence about that matchup in general.
Sure. Other guy that I'll mention here is Yariel Rodriguez. We talked about him briefly on the show this morning. Obviously, he's been really good in his last 2 starts against Seattle and Houston here. This guy, a longtime international baseball player, played over in Japan, played in the Cuban national team. Electric strikeout numbers at AAA this year. He had a 14.5 K per nine. Also came with a 5.5 walks per nine, and those walk problems have followed him over to the major league level, where it's at 4.5. Strikeout numbers have dipped a little bit more at the major league level than at the minor league level. His slider on Fangraphs is graded as a 70 out of 80. So the dude has like an electric breaking ball. Probably has to do with a lot of the walks. He probably throws it a lot. Doesn't necessarily always throw it for strikes, but it's so sharp that it can get some swing and miss on it. He throws in the mid to high 90s. $6,700 against an Arizona team. That offense has certainly trailed down a little bit of late. We like the Blue Jays offense tonight against Ryan Nelson, the other side of this matchup. Would you give Rodriguez a look at all today?
Yeah, my only concern is the walks. Arizona is a high-frequency walk team against right-handed pitching. They're just a high-frequency walk team in general. That would be my only concern, that he just pitches himself out of this game just because he can't control the baseball. He did just face, not the Seattle matchup is the Seattle matchup, but the Houston matchup, that's a surprisingly good outing for a guy who hadn't really shown anything at the major league level yet.
I mean, if you want to be encouraged by the fact that he only walked 2 in each of the last 2 starts, right? It does seem like he is maybe a bit capped. Hasn't pitched more than 83 pitches in any starts this year. So maybe there's some a little concern there. But I mean, Houston's a tough team to strike out.
Good offense,
6 2/3, in that game there. So I'm willing to give him a look at 67. Anybody else for you for value today?
No, I'm not. I don't think there's any need to test any of these waters. But Don, salute to you, sir. How do you feel about the Angels pitcher with Crochet? So we're talking about Tyler Anderson. You and I talked about it on the pre-show. The rain is coming. The storm is coming. It came 2 starts ago. He followed it up with a great outing against the Cubs. I'm going to salute Tyler Anderson for that one. But
this man hasn't had a K per 9 over 7.5 for 7 years, and all of a sudden he rips off a 10 strikeout game.
He also has an xFIP and Sierra north of 5 for a guy with a sub 3 ERA. That is not normal. I mean, that is just getting lucky at the highest level. Seattle hits a bunch of home runs on the road. Case in point last night, not just saying it because it was last night, but they just do. They leave Seattle and they're just a home run hitting team. They go back to Seattle, nobody can hit. So I'm definitely a little wishy-washy on Tyler Anderson tonight. I love Crochet. Don, I think you probably missed it if you just tuned in. We love Crochet, but I'm out on Tyler Anderson.
Yep. Our guy Rob saying he likes Minaya as well. Yeah, we're definitely in on Minaya and Reagan's in this mid-tier. Let's move on over to catcher. Position here, if you're looking to spend up, obviously some matchups we can look to take advantage of. Mentioning Cal Raleigh, if you played him last night, congratulations. Knocked me out of the cash line. 2 homers for the second time in 3 games for Cal Raleigh. 19 homers now on the year. Well on his way to repeat the power numbers of last season. 293 with 1,000 OPS over his last 10. I mean, this dude it's called the big dumper for a reason, man. Now he's got Tyler Anderson. If you're looking to spend up, I think he's my number 1 catcher today.
His nickname is the Big Dumper.
Yeah.
That is what he is called.
Yeah. Did you not know that?
No. Salute to Cal Raleigh for being the Big Dumper, I guess. I mean,
he's the Big Dumper. Yeah, that's his nickname.
I hope that's blasted on some the big screen every time he comes up.
Oh yeah, probably is. Yeah, the Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh.
I mean, yeah, I think Raleigh is in terms of a guy. He has so against lefties this year, he is a 247 OBP. He also has a 500 slug and a 338 isolated power.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's saying 200. So,
right. So you can definitely get to Raleigh. I think Yanier Diaz, 4,400 hitting in the middle of the lineup. Obviously, Jordan being back just lengthens that lineup and will help Diaz. Will help Diaz in general see pitches because like how good Diaz has been or how good Jordan's been against lefties this year.
Yeah.
So I like Diaz at 44. I think my favorite catcher of the day is Francisco Alvarez. So Gordon at the minor league level couldn't get righties out in a pretty heavy sample. And we know how good Francisco Alvarez is against right-handed pitching and has been since Francisco Alvarez has been called up. Francisco Alvarez is one of my favorite plays. 1,000 OPS against righties over the last month. Hitting fifth tonight. That would be my favorite spend up, like over $4,000. If you don't want to play Raleigh or Diaz, but I prefer Alvarez to both those guys.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit cheaper. We do tend to look for some value at this position. Tyler Stevenson, $3,800. I'm not talking about a guy on a home run tear, 4 homers over the last 3 games for him. Came back from the injured list and has just not stopped hitting. This is the guy that I remember from like 2 or 3 years ago, right? Like last year he was not very good, but this is a guy that certainly has power. Thoughts here, Tyler Stevenson against Johnny Torinos.
Yeah, last month for Tyler Stevenson, right-handed pitching, 902 OPS, 333 ISO, 382 WOBA. I couldn't decide which Reds I wanted in the playbook today, so I just wrote up 6 of them.
All of them?
In a Cincinnati Reds, I mean, they have a bunch of guys right now over the last month crushing right-handed pitching on like every level. And Chirinos serves it up to both splits. He does get a lot of ground balls, but lefties are hitting over 300, righties are hitting over 300 against him this year. So he's going to have a tough time with the Reds tonight. Love Stevenson's price under
4K. Any other value plays here for today?
Yeah. So when we go down the list, we'll see what catchers in the lineup for the Blue Jays. But obviously you and I have talked about Blue Jays since last night when we were talking about righties against Ryan Nelson. Alejandro Kirk is $2,500 tonight. He is in the midst of a really, really good stretch of baseball and Alejandro Kirk has been really good hitting. Like basically his whole career, right? Like that's been the one thing that Alejandro Kirk hasn't lacked.
A couple years ago, he had like cleanup for them because he's hitting like 330, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, he was literally hitting cleanup every day, hitting 300 plus. And we've talked about Ryan Nelson kind of all season long, every time a righty steps into the dish. But John, I took it to the next level today because I don't know if you've seen Ryan Nelson's splits this year. He is atrocious at home. Atrocious.
Yeah. Bad against righties, bad at home.
Bad against righties at home. 386 average, 566 slug, 417 WOBA for righties in Arizona this year.
What's his homer per 9? Because he doesn't give up a lot of home runs.
Does not give up a lot of home runs. Does not give up a lot of home runs at home. Does not give up a lot of. He gives up more home runs to lefties. Believe it or not.
It was under a homer per 9. It was 0.9 homers per 9 to righties on the year, despite giving up like a 400 WOBA and like a 600 slug. They're just roping doubles off of him, I guess. But that didn't stop me from taking the Vladdy Jr. home run prop tonight. So
no, it's actually 0.5 home runs per 9 at home. But dude.
The numbers don't make sense.
Yeah, 2. He has a 2 whip. I mean, the strikeout rate obviously stinks. There's a little like bad luck to this when you look at some of the metrics behind Ryan Nelson against righties. But like you would think that over a sample, like a large sample over a season, things would get better, and they just haven't for him. They continue to be bad. So. If Alejandro Kirk's in the lineup, we will see. Obviously, Danny Jansen homered yesterday, so who knows which catcher is going to be in the lineup? Maybe both. But 2,500 in the current form that Kirk's in, I would take a shot at.
Yeah, Jansen up at 4K there. I see 3 wants to know Corey Lee. What are thoughts there against Marco Gonzalez at 3,100?
It's fine. It's fine. White Sox and Corey Lee included have cooled off big time. They were hitting lefties. Not the case lately. And you and I said that. I said that on the show last night, and then I looked at the numbers today. I'm like, oh, wish I didn't say that. But, there's always time for redemption. There's always time for growth here, John. And the White Sox have not been good against them.
First base. Again, top end guys here: Alonso, Chirinos, Walker, Olson, and JD Martinez with first base eligibility up over 5K. You talked about Gordon not being able to get righties out. Obviously, Alonso and Martinez good versus lefties. Steer's kind of hitting everybody at this point. We know Vasquez's numbers against lefties, but does Atlanta have the ability to actually hit a baseball? You know, what's going on here?
To your last question, I'll answer it first. No. And then we'll revisit the Mets. So Pete Alonso's been really bad against righties over the last month.
Yeah.
Obviously there's home run upside, obvious. I would prefer to get to JD Mart for $400 cheaper multi-position eligibility. He's been good against righties, not as good as he's been against lefties, but still 800 plus OPS, 200 plus ISO. Numbers that Alonso is not even sniffing. So I prefer Martinez here. You talked about Steer being good against everybody. Last month against right-handed pitching, 930 OPS, 320 ISO, 397 WOBA.
Yep.
And Spencer Steer, sneaky fast, 14 stolen bases on the year too with a righty on the mound. So even in the games where he's not homering, there is stolen base equity there as well.
The team that likes to run because Ellie just like double steals all the time.
Right.
So
right. Yeah. I mean, if Ellie's on, right, Steer's on first and second, there's a great opportunity. You're about to get 10 fantasy points because they're double stealing. So.
Double steal going on there. Just on the Ellie front, I know we'll hit shortstop in a second, but as I was scrolling through my timeline to see if any other updates have come out, Charlie Goldsmith covering the Cincinnati Reds for the Inquirer. Ellie De La Cruz just hit a ball that left the Great American Ballpark over the moon deck. A kid started running up the steps to try to get the home run ball. Was disappointed to see it actually leave the park. So in batting practice, Ellie De La Cruz is leaving the stadium, just in case you were curious if he was locked in or not tonight. So, you know.
John,
Yeah.
John, don't make me buy into any balls leaving the yard narrative, please. I watched Josh Hamilton hit it at Yankee Stadium, and look where Josh Hamilton is today, okay?
Anyways, so more on to first base here. I like Vlad, 4,800.
Yes.
Same thing, same reasoning there. Where else are you looking in the mid tier?
Yeah, Vlad, 200 plus ISO, 840 OPS against righties over the last month. Jose Miranda is an interesting play because he's been so good, and he's in obviously a great spot. And Kyle Harrison has not been great. He's also been only really good against righties this year. So
yeah,
he's also been really good against lefties his whole career. Specifically, like that was why he was kind of hanging around the major leagues until this year, right? Because he was good against lefties, and now he's not. So we'll see what rears its head. Miranda's fine. I think the righties for Kansas City is interesting. Criswell has struggled against righties, has basically eliminated lefties from existence. Like lefties cannot hit Cooper Criswell. Righties can. So, you know, Salvi putting the ball in the air in a windy night in Fenway. The Royals run total that started at 4.7 is now up to 5 implied runs as well since the Criswell news became official. And I think Criswell is actually pretty good. But back-to-back games with home runs for Salvi. I didn't mention my catcher, but you know you could play him. Obviously, you could play him there too. I like Salvi at 4,700 against Criswell. If you're not playing Martinez or Guerrera, again, didn't really want to play lefties against Criswell. I like Candelario, $4,400 hitting third. I think you can play Reds everywhere you want. If you wanted to get to 5 Reds, you obviously can. Great environment. Carlos Santana at 4,300 makes a lot of sense. How good he's been against lefties as well.
Yep. Spencer Horwitz, I know we talked about him. We'll talk about him in a second, but he's 42 there as well. We had a comment on Michael Busch. Had a good day yesterday, as did most of the Cubs. Where are we with Chicago here today?
Michael Busch has had a good day every day for the last week. Yeah, I mean, lefties are what give Sonny Gray issues. Do I want to go crazy on Cubs? No. But I think Michael Busch is a perfect one-off. He's too cheap for current form.
Yep, I agree with you. And then, this tier kind of here just in general, Busch, Nathaniel Lowe, Andrew Vaughn, Josh Bell. I think any of those guys are fine if they fit your lineup builds here today.
Correct.
If Lamonte Wade was to be in the lineup, I wouldn't hate his dealing with a tight hamstring, so maybe unlikely, but you talked about the home run ball for Joe Ryan, and obviously Lamonte Wade has some nice ISO and power numbers there. Anybody else for you?
No, but I just sorry your boy's built of freaking glass. He is hurt all the time.
It hasn't been a good year for him injury status wise there. Over at second base, is this a position we're looking to spend up for today, James?
It can be. I mean, I think that there's interesting options. Obviously, you and I talked about it last night. We thought Willie Castro, well, the Twins don't learn. They just bat their guy. Hold on. As Lee Corso says, not so fast, my friends. Willie Castro hitting third tonight, John, $5,100. He has mashed lefties, almost 1,000 OPS on the year against them. So
yeah, I mean, Twins must have found the Fangraphs page. You know?
They have learned about Fangraphs. That is correct. Salute to the Twins for learning about Fangraphs. So Castro 51, Altuve at 52 would be the two guys you're spending up on. Obviously, Bryce Terang is interesting. I mean, Jackson Rutledge. We haven't talked Milwaukee yet. Jackson Rutledge had a near 7 ERA at AAA. Like, just because you're 6'8" doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a good pitcher.
Right.
And he is learning that because every level he's pitched at, he's been shelled, including AAA. What is going to happen against the Brewers? So, like, the Brewers are a top 10 offense in baseball against righties. So if you wanted to save some money and go to Terang, who's going to obviously lead off against a righty, I think that's a viable approach as well.
Okay. Opposites there, Luis Garcia. Obviously, he had a really strong run there for a little bit. It continues to hit the ball well, has some power, has a little bit of speed if you want to go there. Jonathan India remains hot, $4,500. Can continue to rock that as well. Nico Horner, if you're not buying into Sonny Gray tonight. Nolan Gorman hitting 8th, but on one of those heaters again at $3,900. What else are we looking at here?
Yeah. You kind of mentioned Horwitz at first, but 950 OPS against right-handed pitching his last month, 224 ISO in that span too. So just to round out a Blue Jay stack would make sense with Horwitz. I like India, another one who's crushing over the last month against right-handed pitching. I think you and I were both a little bit more in on Michael Massey. Not that I wouldn't play him, but again, Criswell has just eliminated lefties from existence this year. So
yeah, and he went down to AAA and nominated too. By the way, I just looked at his AAA numbers to see kind of like how he fared.
Pitcher of the month.
ERA.
He was the pitcher of the month. Right before his call up, they're like, "Hey, you're the pitcher of the month," and everyone in Boston's probably like, "Hey, he actually pitched pretty well before he got sent down. Why did he get sent down?"
Right.
We're watching Josh Winkowski start every fifth day.
He got actually that's kind of why he got sent down. Just being around Boston, the way the days off played, they didn't need a 5th starter, so they brought up an extra reliever, and they sent Cooper Criswell down to just pitch down there. And he's like, I've been pitching against major league hitters. I'm just gonna shut all you guys down. 1.4 ERA and 5 starts. So he's back probably for good until they trade for like Nathan Eovaldi or something, and then we go from there. Value second baseman as we work our way down the list here. We had a question on Lennon Sosa, 2,400 today, hitting 5th. Would you go down here for Lennon Sosa against Marco Gonzalez?
Yeah, Lennon Sosa's been really good against lefties. If you wanted to play him, you can. I think that there's, you can always play him in tournaments. Marco Gonzalez is what Marco Gonzalez is, right? The only thing I'd say is like, Pittsburgh bullpen is pretty good after Marco Gonzalez inevitably leaves because
even though they immediately gave up the no-hitter yesterday and then almost lost the game. So
but still
they didn't. No,
but they didn't.
Holderman loaded the bases but also had 3 strikeouts. So
someone call him Saberman.
It's true. Could be. Don, to your question, Crochet and Reagans have probably the highest strikeout ceiling combined on the slate. So sure. And St. Louis stack against Hendricks, that's fine. My only worry about Hendricks is they don't usually let him pitch too long into these games. So, if he's probably, you're going to get that Chicago Cubs bullpen at some point here. So
he got hurt in the Angels game. So he apparently had a back thing that just wasn't reported. It just flared up and then he got taken out of that game.
Sure. So there's that. Was there any other second baseman though that you wanted to bring up? Okay. Third base here, up at the top, Devers against Reagans, lefty. Riley against Vasquez, Westberg, Machado, Vientos. I know power versus lefties, but you mentioned Gordon can't get anybody out on the right side. Third base, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't have too much up here that I necessarily like. Lefties have hit Reagan's fine, better than righties, but it's a very small sample. So if you wanted to play Devers, fine. Same thing. We already talked about Miranda. The Vientos thing is interesting. Obviously, he hasn't been as good against righties as he's been against lefties. Hard to do, but I don't hate the idea of like an Alvarez Vientos, just like Mets rookie James
5-6
fantasy team exploration there. I just kind of like this next tier and the value tier. I mean, Candelario 4,400, Bregman 43, Josh Smith 43, Brooks Lee. Do you want to talk about a guy who just absolutely mashes left-handed pitching? Also playing second base tonight. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe we get some second base eligibility.
You know why he's getting ready to play second, because
Rice. Right, Rice. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Like they're not sending him down. But and we talked about this last night. You asked a question, and I looked at the data. Against left-handed pitching in the minors this year, 725 slug, 1,500 or almost 1,200 OPS against lefties. So this is definitely the side that he presents the most pop from. Wish it wasn't an 8 spot, Brooks Lee, but at least it's not like where we speculated Willie Castro was 5,100 hitting ninth. Like at least it's still sub 4K for Brooks Lee.
Well, we thought, and I guess I'll check, but is Margot leading off for them today?
He is leading off.
Like why? Why flip? We should just flip those.
Probably.
Or have Castro lead off and have Lee hit.
Also a not a bad decision. Like you could there could have been like.
I haven't checked to see where Byron Buxton is yet. I'll probably.
He's like 7th. Yeah, you're disappointed.
Guy has like a 280 ISO against lefties. Don't even bother. Just throw him at the bottom of the lineup.
Yep.
All right. So obviously we're in on Lee here. What other value are we looking at? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like we have to like Yankees at some point, right? Povich is dreadful.
I know that you look. Hold on. I know what you're saying. We can like Yankees at some point. The point does not have to be right now. It does not. Dude, he has 3 extra base hits in 34 games. 3.
Why do you keep rotating leadoff hitters? That's what I want to know.
Because nobody can hit. Nobody. Like
he's got 2 hits in 2 of his last 4 games.
I don't care.
Sam's saying weather concerns. What's the latest weather report in New York, Baltimore here? I mean Kevin Roth, our guy over at Roto Grinders, we go to him. We're not ashamed to say it. He's the fantasy weatherman. He's got it as a yellow. He says, I don't see a lot that worries me, but there could be an in-game delay potentially if the storms hit the stadium. So that doesn't impact the hitters; it impacts the pitchers. So got it as yellow.
Yeah, got it as yellow. I would not play LeMahieu. I think my value play at third would be Ernie Clement, and I talked to you about that on the show. So Ernie Clement against right-handed pitching has just been as good as anybody on this team. Last month, 891 OPS. Honestly, 327 average, 891 OPS, 220 ISO, 380 WOBA over the last month, and he's been great. We've talked about it the entire year. Ryan Nelson versus righties, that's where he struggles the most. I don't love that Clement's probably going to hit 8th, but he's $2,700, and this is the side of the split that he's crushing. So I like Clement way more than I like LeMahieu, and you'll probably get him. People will just automatically click LeMahieu's name. They'll just drool out of their mouth and just click his name because it's like, oh, Povich has been bad. No doubt. He gives up home runs. No doubt. Can't pitch against right-handed hitters. No doubt. Let me just click on DJ LeMahieu and hope that he does something. But it's like, I don't know. He now is going into a ballpark that doesn't allow home runs unless you're like someone like Aaron Judge who no ballpark can hold. Yeah. And now you want a guy who has 2 extra base hits on the year to like, I'd rather play Clement for a couple $100.
Sure. I mean, the obvious reasoning for that is the ability the hope that he gets on base because of the recent performances, and then he gets runs scored.
Sure.
Right? You're not at this point. We're not looking for DJ LeMahieu of a decade ago, right? We're just hoping he leans into one. Throw an elbow out there. Let's get on first. Let's go to short. Gunnar Henderson, who walked into the stadium today in a cowboy hat, boots, dressed like a Texas Ranger for whatever reason. So people are all over Twitter on that. Ellie, as I mentioned, hitting balls out of Great American Ballpark during batting practice. Bobby Witt gets Cooper Criswell. CJ Abrams against Peralta, up over 6K. Is a loaded position. Correa against lefty. Seager, $5,200. Adames at home versus Rutledge, you've said is a miserable. Again, find your stack. Usually we say this about the outfield, then just like plug in the shortstop because you're hard pressed to do better.
What else do you got on your shortstop report? You got Gunnar and Ellie so far. Anything else popping on your shortstop report for the day, or is that all you know? What did Bobby Witt pull up to Fenway with?
That's it so far. That's all. These are BP. I'm only relaying what is on social media. I'm sure people have things for us on there about the other players.
John's shortstop report coming to a Twitter feed near you. It's hard to dislike shortstop everyone over a 5K. I think there's a legitimate case for every player. Gunnar, home run upside. Ellie, everything upside. In Great American Ballpark, has crushed righties. Bobby Witt faces a guy who struggles against righties with wind in Fenway. Abrams is an elite speed power guy. Carlos Correa, almost 1,000 OPS against lefties. Francisco Lindor, elite talent. Mets have the highest run total on the board. Corey Seager is Corey Seager. You can't go wrong with literally anybody that not a single name. And Adames, like you said, righties at home, and Rutledge stinks at AAA and now has to pitch in the major leagues. There is not a wrong answer. Willie Adames up.
Yeah, I got another one to add to that. If you're not picking one of those 7, is there another shortstop down the list that you like tonight?
Yeah, Jeremy Pena, 4,100. I think he is firmly in play. He hits lefties well. And then I'm going all the way down the list to Xavier Edwards, $2,300, hitting second tonight. We talked about it atop the show. He has been really good. Hits in all but 2 games this year. Had his first stolen base. He has a lot of speed. He has a lot of stolen bases at the minor league level. And he's very good against a guy who struggles against lefty bats. So if you want to punt the position, it's definitely Xavier Edwards at 2,300.
Sure. Is Hines outfield only? What's Hines at?
He is outfield only.
Okay. Let's go to outfield then. Okay. Where you have Judge and Soto.
Aaron Judge, number one. He's the number one
cover of today's show.
Yeah, cover of today's show.
Who's on your playbook cover?
Ellie De La Cruz.
Okay. Talk to me about the top tier, man.
Aaron Judge. That is the top tier. I mean, Povich has allowed 2 right-handers, a 500 slug, 2.37 home runs per 9 innings, and a 54% fly ball rate. That is not good when you're facing Aaron Judge and his 394 ISO, 1,200 OPS, 492 WOBA against left-handed pitching. That is a bad recipe for the best power hitter in baseball.
One of 2 things happens today. Povich is lucky he's catching Judge where he's at 230 and a 700 Correct. OPS, or Judge is lucky to get Povich in to get him out of the slump.
Breaks out. Yeah, there is. Is one of 2 options.
One of 2 options here tonight. So you have that obviously. Again, Yelich against Rutledge at 58. Jordan versus Heaney, perfectly fine there. I don't know what the BVP numbers are, and I know you don't care about them. Lewis Roberts, $5,400 against Marco Gonzalez. Talked to obviously the Nationals already here. J-Rod again, $5,200 against Anderson. Maybe signs of life out of him.
Yeah, you threw me off with the BVP. I couldn't focus. Yeah, J-Rod's good. Nimmo 51 is obviously as good as it's been across baseball. Buxton hitting 6. Sorry, I misspoke. Buxton hitting 6th tonight, which isn't terrible. But still, hit the guy 3rd, please. Or
do you want the BVP numbers?
No,
they're good.
I don't care.
Okay,
just give them. The people out there like BVP. IC3 was calling me out on Nestor Cortez BVP yesterday. Although the Rays didn't score after the second inning, but go ahead, give me the BVP.
474 batting average, 684 slug, 1284 OPS. There's off Andrew Heaney there for Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah, let's go on down the rest of the outfield position now and then head into the fours. Everyone, I'm so happy that we wasted our 30 seconds there. I mean, look, if you like BVP, if you
such a hater.
If you follow
Jock Peterson
BVP
against Rodriguez, though, I like him there. I don't mind. Also,
if Jordan goes 0 for 4 tonight, then what?
He's not going to go 0 for 4 against him.
I'm asking if he goes.
What if he goes 4 for 4? Does that make you more of a believer?
No, because he hits lefties well. Okay. He's hitting like 400 against lefties. Like,
okay, all right. Peterson's there at 46. Jackson Merrill 45. Both of those guys are good. Yeah, type in the chat if you're a BVP believer. Give us a 1 in the chat if you like BVP.
Where's IC3? Get IC3 in here. He's number 1. You know my favorite part of doing the show with Henry the last 2 days was that Henry
talk about BVP?
Crapped all over it right there with me. We were brothers in arms, just crapping on BVP. It was great.
Kelnick 43 leading off there. I like that.
As BVP season. Oh no. Poe DJ in the chat with Bong Rip and BVP season. That was a good wrinkle into his normal.
I just asked for a 1, but I'll take that as well.
Yeah.
Kalanick 43, Chisholm 42, looking pretty good.
Yep.
There as well. What else you got for us?
Springer and Burleson 41. Each of those two guys. Obviously, George Springer's been elite, over a 200 ISO against right-handed pitching over the last month. Burleson has been amazing against left-handed pitching in general. So I think both those guys stand out like sore thumbs. If Hendricks does pitch deep into this game, he is in trouble because how many lefties the Cardinals are throwing at him today. Then you drop below or at 4K. Obviously, Ref Snyder, if you're not into Cole Reagan's leading off homer the other day, that's fine. Newt Bar, 3,800. Monster numbers against right-handed pitching. I think, like, just given how long he was on the IL, it's like, oh, he's back. Like, no, he's hitting ground running. Homered yesterday or 2 days ago. Has really, really good numbers. Over a 300 isolated power against right-handers on the year. So I like Newbar at 38 quite a bit.
Sure. To Prince, 3 favorite pitchers tonight: Garrett Crochet, Cole Reagan, Sean Manaea. For your FanDuel lineups, one of the 3 there. Let's see. Work our way down. Fraley's back hitting 6. We talked Cincinnati last night. They got him back in their lineup. Margot is leading off. $3,600 if you're buying into some Minnesota here. What else are you thinking?
Yeah, Jesus Sanchez, $3,300. That's one of my favorite values of the day. It's very interesting because I think Carson Spires is fine, but he struggles against lefty power. Over the last month, Jesus Sanchez against right-handed pitching, 313, 353, 672 slash line, 359 isolated power.
Yeah.
What park is better for power when you're not talking cores and maybe at all in baseball than Great American? Like, Great American is premier power park, and now you're facing a guy who struggles in that department. So I like Sanchez a lot.
Agreed. And all fairness for VP, I actually use this as Pod does here. I use it if I need to as like a tiebreaker down the list, for BVP. If I'm really torn on 2 guys, and one has a better history against him, I would go in that direction there. Do you like Kerstad? I mean, he had been ridiculously good for them. They haven't played him a ton. Any interest there against Cole tonight?
Yeah, I mean, when he's played, he's been great. There's a cheap home run waiting to happen. There's also multiple strikeout upside, so for sure in tournaments.
All right. Anybody else as we work our way down the list?
Yeah, Reese Hines. He is still too cheap at $2,800. 2 games with a home run, 2 games with stolen bases. You talked about it on the show last night, or maybe after the show. I don't know. Him and Bobby Witt in a home run derby back in the day.
Yeah, high school,
a lot of power.
All-star championships or something like that.
A lot of power, great spot overall, and he's done like all of his damage against righties specifically, at least in the home run front. So Reese Hines, I think, just at 2,800 is simply too cheap.
Sure. Yep, I like that a lot as well. Any other like value plays as we work our way. Not many official lineups out yet for that. So
no, it is worth noting to your Yariel Rodriguez point. I saw Lourdes was questionable, not playing tonight.
yeah.
And Geraldo Perdomo is hitting 5th. In case you were wanting to know where the Diamondbacks stood tonight on their.
Excuse me.
So.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get a lineup build. I think has anything changed from this morning with our starting pitching? Mania Reagans?
Nothing's changed from 40 minutes ago. Nope. Same best 2 pitchers on the board.
Best 2 pitchers on the board. I agreed. All right, catcher.
I mean, if we can get to Francisco Alvarez, if not, we can play Kirk. We can play Tyler Stevenson, who's obviously been on a tear.
Well, what are we doing? Are we going to try to fit a Judge Ellie lineup in here?
I don't know if it's possible unless we played like Ernie Clement, Alejandro Kirk as like a bottom tier Blue Jays lineup, where we played Clement at third, Hines in the outfield. Play Ernie Clement at third. I like Ernie Clement anyway. Eugenio Suarez has caught fire, but also we're kind of in on Yariel Rodriguez and the strikeout appeal that he has against Eugenio Suarez.
Do you have a value second baseman? Dubon could plug in there.
I think it's around this like the 4K tier if we wanted to play anyone.
Do our Lennon Sosa call out from IC3, I think it was, right?
I mean, I'm not going to play him personally, but we can here if you want more money.
I think it helps us save some money. We can get spend up 4,800 a play on first base and outfield.
Yeah, Vladdy Buxton.
Sure. Let's see. Or we could. Let's see. What am I looking at for here? Vlad. 47. Buxton. You could go Brooks Lee and go down from Buxton if you wanted over Clement. Or do you like Clement there?
I have made my case for Clement. If you don't want to play him, we can't. We don't have to. But I'm
happy to do it. That's fine. So example lineup for you all there: Sean Manaea, Cole Reagans, Alejandro Kirk, Vlad Guerrero, Lennon Sosa, Ernie Clement, Ellie De La Cruz, Aaron Judge, Reese Hines, and Byron Buxton. We're doing the 2 double spends. Looking for home runs from Ellie and Judge here tonight. Stack building around Toronto here in Cincinnati. Again, if you have any questions, find us on Discord. Get us on the X machine as well. Come member to the Fantasy Alarm family. First month there, less than $20 when you use promo code Let's Win when you go to fantasyalarm.com/win. And of course, our fantasy football draft guide is out. That comes with your All Pro subscription, along with the cheat sheet, which you can download all the rankings, draft grid, and more in there. So check that out. James and I will be back for Monday. Until then, you know where to find us. Good luck, everybody.